What's up,
What's
dog?
up, dog?
What's up? Another episode. We're back again. We're got some special backgrounds here, which they are privileged to have. Uh, anyways, this episode we're gonna
Feeling
talk
left,
about.
Brendan? Feeling a bit left out.
Yeah, I
Hope
am.
it's real.
Anyways, as if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram at what's up dog underscore podcast. This is where you can engage with us. This is where you can talk to us. This is where you can ask questions, bring up topics, and any particular guests you want involved in this podcast, we'll try to invite them. And yeah, so do a quick round of introduction. My name is Brandon.
I'm James. Sorry.
And I'm Keith.
You know why I was dreaming? Because as I was sitting this way and I realized that the words behind me say the pull out dog. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Thanks. Just my having a
Today's
little
episode
moment. Just
Today's episode is all about how and what do you do before buying a puppy or a dog, and also all the way down to what do you do the first 2 weeks of having your dog, your puppy at home, what to prepare, and such. So we'll go around, but first, let me bring up the topic of what do you do if you want to get a dog or a puppy. What do you prepare? How do you prepare for it? So yeah, we'll go around first. Let's start with James and then Keith, and then I'll answer my the way I prepare for a puppy myself. So
yeah.
James, what do you do when you
I
prepare
mean,
for a puppy?
I get asked this a lot. In fact, a good friend of mine just got a Pomsky a couple of days back. Um,
Hey, my friend too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a common thing, right? Like people always asking like, what do we do? But for me, I always think about it from the perspective of the dog, and I think about how scary it is for the dog. I mean, like you're with your little mates, time of your life, you're in the place you were born with your mom and everything, and all of a sudden you're in a new place, and then humans are sort of swooning and swarming over you. I don't know. I think that probably the fairest first thing to do is really to just give the puppy a lot of time and space to acclimatize, making sure that they're not in a wide open space, that it's something that they can process, small confined space that they can process, feel safe. That's, yeah. Don't know. Keith, what do you think?
Um, I think before anybody gets a dog, they need to know their lifestyle and like what type of dog they should get. Um, some people just get it out for looks and all those type of things. So I think it's best if you do a lot of research, speak to breeders, speak to people, reach out, people who have the same dog. Let's say, for instance, if you have a husky, if you want a husky, reach out to people who own huskies. Ask them first, like, what is it like to have a husky? What's the exercise requirements? If you want a Rottweiler, you can reach out to James, of course, and he will tell you. You also can reach out to me because I have a Rottweiler who's in the house, so it's totally different. So I think that's one thing that everybody should do is a lot of homework, like read up about the breed. If you're going to adopt, it's a risky thing, but just be prepared for everything. I think the most important thing is to puppy proof your house. If your dog's going to be inside, puppy proof your house, have a place for the puppy to be in. My dog is crate trained, so he has a crate. If he's not being supervised, he goes into the crate. Yeah, just prepare, like make sure you do not go get a puppy and then you say, oh, I don't have a dog bowl, I don't have dog food, and then you have to rush it. I don't have chew toys because all puppies will chew. I don't just be prepared like a week earlier. Make sure you have all your crates, you have all your pee pads if you're going to toilet train your dog and all those type of things. I think that's one of the first thing you should do is like don't buy it on impulse. Make sure that you're really prepared. It's like having a baby in the house. You do not just have a baby. It's like a 9 months process of preparing yourself and baby proofing your house. You should do the same for a puppy as well. I think that's the first thing that everybody should do. Everybody asks me when they say, Keith, I want to get a dog. I say, do your homework. Always do your homework. If you want to get a toy poodle, do your homework. the breed, how the breed is, the exercise requirements, and all those other things. That's for me. That's how I prepare for my dog. Brendan?
For me, I think it's a bit different. We can talk about pet dogs for pets, right? What were you going to do with pets? Which I think Keith, you can relate to this as well. But on my end, I would say choosing a dog for a particular purpose, like for me especially, would be for sport or even for guarding. There's a couple ways that you can actually select a guard dog per se, or a sport dog per se, or working dog or whatever. So in my particular view, when this is the way I've gotten my dogs. Yeah, it's going to be different for a lot of people, because I choose for a specific trait or a genetic or lineage viewpoint, right? So how I got my dog is through conversing with the breeder, right? I know there's a planned litter, right? Meaning whatever, A dog mates with B dog. I'm particularly interested in these two breedings, in this particular breeding, for the reasons of their parents, themselves, whatever trait that I'm interested in, because I know the dog or whatnot, and I particularly know the breeder. So I ask a lot of questions. Now it's not going to be the same for a lot of people, because if you were to import dogs, most breeders overseas will not simply send you a dog because they don't know who you are. In my case, is because they do know what I do, and of course a lot of explanation, and of course I've been to some world championships before, and I've met a lot of breeders. So this is the first relationship that you need to have is with the breeder, knowing what dogs they have. Of course, coming down to what breed suits you. So, what I mean, if I was to choose a working dog, I want to have a particular um, genetic. I would select the breeder first. Second, they would tell me, okay, this litter's coming up. There, I don't know how many males or females. In my case, It didn't really matter to me if it was a male or female, but because I am competing, I preferred a male due to, of course, females having their heats, cycle and stuff like that. So this is for the sports working side of it, right? So planning that gives me a lot of time, because of course it takes 2 months. The bitch would probably have be pregnant for 2 months, and then we wait another 2 months for the puppy to develop, and of course having as much nutrients from the mother. Then of course the import requirements would probably come down to about 4 or 5 months. So I have a lot of time to prepare for my dog. But if I was to get a dog locally, um, again, if it's for pet, it's simply it depends on what breed I want. I have to look at. Two, do I have space? Three, do I have time? Um, Four, would it suit my family? Of course, there's going to be people around the house. Um, I guess I guess the and five would probably be, can I train my dog, or am I going to leave my dog running around aimlessly, not, these kind of things. So you do have to prepare in that, your mindset too, right? Um, yeah, I mean, I can go on and on, but let's think about the first step, right? What breed do you want? What do you want the dog for? Because we see a lot of times now, like during MCO, COVID, a lot of people are buying dogs, adopting dogs, whenever they want. And sometimes they have dogs at home, but they want another. So you have to consider, will your existing dog um, match well with with the new dog that you're bringing in? So I mean, these couple of things that you do have to consider. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. The other thing also, Brendan, like movies. Like movies are such a, like
yeah,
like
you get a lot of influence, right? So
uh,
again, let's talk about breed, right? If you are a first time dog owner, you will not want Belgian Shepherd. This is a fact.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to be as real as possible, but you have to be realistic because you have to be fair to the dog, right? M- Malinois, Belgian Shepherds particularly, are hyperactive dogs, and they require a lot of exercise and energy release, right? So, like for me, I know that I can look after my dogs in a sense of doing a lot of exercise, food, diet. I have a treadmill where I kind of let my dogs release their energy there. I bring them out daily, So if this kind of mindset for you does not work out, and the physicalities of training your dog, exercising your dog does not work for you, please don't buy a Malinois. Right? There are other breeds like the German Shepherds or the Rottweilers in terms of working dogs that may be better for you. Um, but most of the people I know who are first time dog owners will probably give away the dog within 6 months,
Yeah.
and that's really not fair to the dog.
Because I know in the US, like when John Wick came out, John Wick 3, I think, when Haley Berry had the two Mellies, and then all of a sudden there was a huge influx of Mellies to the
Melly craze. Yeah.
yeah, and you go to the adoption centers and it's just Mellies everywhere, right? And then I
Even
think
for the Akita one, right? The one that was what show was it that everybody started
There's
to get
even the Shiba Inu, right?
she
So Hachiko, right?
Chico and
So at
then
one point, after Hachiko came out, everyone wanted to get a Shiba Inu, but most people don't even know what the Shiba Inu is capable of,
mm,
right? Yeah, they look nice. They think, yeah, the movie tells us a loyal dog. All dogs are loyal, right? But it also comes down to how well you bond with your dog. But this would probably be the first thing that you should ask yourself, um, is to be able to research that particular breed you're interested in. Ask people. Yes, I agree with Keith that try to engage with people online. A lot of people are nice enough to tell you, hey, if you're interested in this dog, this is what their general traits are, and be prepared for it. So, yeah, that would be the first thing that you should consider.
I think what a lot of people don't realize also is that when they watch a movie or when they, my Rottweiler Panda was on a set for a photo shoot with Marie Claire as well as a music video with Sean Lee. I think what people don't realize when they watch like a movie, they see like a pet dog, they see like a Lassie running around or they see Hachiko running around, but they don't realize how many freaking hours of training goes into that dog, assuming it's one dog because potentially in a film they're probably you know rotating three or four dogs that look very similar. And if you take the cumulative training hours of those dogs, right, I think the average homeowner won't put anywhere near a fraction of that.
Yeah.
yeah. I think the problem with like movies, right, is all the movies, the dogs, right, are actually not very suitable for first time owners. Like I would never get a border collie for as a first time dog. They're very high. They're equivalent to a Melly in terms of energy. I would not get a Akita. Um, but then again, if you have done your homework, I don't say I would never tell somebody that don't get this dog, but I'll just tell them do your homework, be prepared
Yeah,
for
you
it.
have to be mentally prepared. I think that's
Yeah,
the most important thing, right?
yeah. If you know that I need to commit to 2 hours of walking a dog every single day, and you're prepared to do it for the next 10 hours, it's 10 years of your of the
So
dog's life.
this is
Or
another thing, right? So this is another thing that I know a few people who live in pretty big houses, right? They think that their house is big enough for their dogs. Like for example, a Mali in a very big house, it's sufficient exercise. To me, it's not. It's the same as saying that look, your house is so big. Why do you still go out your house, right? It doesn't make sense to me in in that particular reason.
There's
If
also sorry, you go.
So my point is that even though your house is so big, you still need to exercise your dog outside your house, right? It's mentally healthy for the dog to get out and see new things, um, experience new experiences. I think these are the small things. No matter how big your house is, I could live in a small condo, a studio condo, or whatever, a studio house. Um, and I could still also have Melly, but I take my dog out maybe 3, 4 times a day, right? So this is something that you have to consider.
the flip side is also true, man. Like I talk to some people who say like, oh man, I love the Rottweiler, I love your dog, but I live in a terrace, so it's not fair for the dog. And I actually disagree because, like my dogs would just be very happy in the kennel, come out, lie down next to me, take a pee and a poop, have a drink, and then come lie down next to me. They don't. They, just because it's a big dog doesn't mean it's going to run around your whole house compound the whole day. Like they
Yeah,
will
correct.
just chill with you. And more important than the size of your house, I mean, I'm not advocating it, but I'm saying that it's not even impossible for me to have a Rottweiler in an apartment if your lifestyle compensates for it, like you say, by going out and doing activities with your dog. Because seriously, if you've done enough work with a Rottweiler in the evening when they come back to the apartment, they're just gonna veg out in front of the
Yeah.
TV.
Okay. So let's just say now that we decided a particular breed, right?
Rottweiler.
Whatever. Let's just, a lot of people has been asking, yeah, what's up with this guy James who and his Rottweilers, right? But
Trying to
anyway, let's just say that you found your particular breed. What? Okay, in the aspect of you can find a locally bred dog here. What do you do? How do you prepare for it to come home? Um, yeah, we'll go around. Start with James.
I think I answered this earlier because I jumped the gun. But yeah, I would just like he say, make sure you've got all your stuff ready. Find
Yeah,
out what.
what do you need?
For me, actually, when I first got my dogs, really was just a place to sleep. So it was a crate, bowl food, a bowl for water, a bowl for food. But then even the bowl for food is not so critical. What's more critical is to find out what my breeder was feeding the dog, and then get
Correct.
2 weeks worth of that food, make
Correct.
3 weeks worth of that food, so that I can stagger and phase it out. Um, uh, a leash, collar, that sort of stuff. But even then, in the early stages, if it's a pup, without the full vaccination, you're not really gonna go out and about too much. So, but it's just getting the dog used to a collar, getting the dog used to a leash, that sort of stuff. Really, I feel like, yeah, it's not a whole lot, but it's more mental, like making sure that mentally that space is for the dog, that corner of the house is for the dog. If the dog pees and poop there, I'm not gonna lose my mind. Just having that mental space.
Keith.
Okay, so for me, so my dogs are indoors. Yeah, he's practically sleeps in the hall. So for me, the most important is a dog crate. If I can't supervise it, he goes into the dog crate. So I start off. So my crate has partitions. So I make it into the smallest partition first. He goes in. He just enough for him to turn around so he doesn't make a mess because I need to toilet train my dog. So he goes into the crate every hour. I bring him out, give him some water, and I let him out. Does his business. I bring him back. If I can't supervise him, he goes back into the crate. So that's the first thing that I will always get is a crate. I always advocate people to never let your dog free roam when they are puppies because wires dangling, they can bite on a wire, they get electrocuted, they might just go bite into like rat poison and stuff like that. So never never free roam a puppy. So a crate is very important. Like James says, figure out where you want your dog to go do their business, and just constantly just bring them there. And of course, speak to the breeder what food is he feeding. Buy the same packet. Usually, the breeders will sell to you the same dog food that they are using, so use that. If you want to switch, of course, you have to go through a transition period. The first day of when I get a puppy, I do not feed the puppy. So if I get in the afternoon, usually the breeders already fed them in the morning. I will not feed the puppy to the next day, just because it could be stress and all those type of things. So I would not. And also the second day, it's hand feeding, a lot of hand feeding. Um, See if there's any issues with the dogs, like food aggression and all those. If that does have it, I will try to take it off when it's a puppy, um, through hand feeding, putting my hand into the bowl when I feed it, and all those type of things. That's like what I usually do for the first 2 days. It's quite controversial. I do not sleep. I do not bring my dog up. A lot of people say bring your dog up to the room and not when you sleep, because they need to go to the toilet most of the time. So I will open the door and I partition out that area with a pee pad. So the dog will go out the crate and go into the pee pad. So that's what I will usually do for the first 2 days of the dog around here. And a lot of hand feeding, constantly hand feeding with the dog.
For me, I usually get my dogs, my puppies, at the age of 2 months. The reason I get the dog at 2 months is because most of the breeders that we have here, well, particular my breeder, um, yeah, he has done a lot of foundations with the puppy in terms of the even the puppy consuming the mother's milk, which is the most important period of the puppy's life for the first 2 months. When I bring home the puppy, first things first is I don't do training with my dog, because this whole period right now, I would say the first 2 weeks is to really bond with the puppy. Yes, by feeding by hand. And I would also say and add that the first 2 to 3 months of them living in my house, I do also try to bump up their immunity, right? How I do that is through goat's milk. Goat's milk is a very, very good supplement for the puppy themselves. Um, and I also do a little bit of crate training in that sense of putting them in the crate for a couple hours a day, taking them out, because I don't want them to have that separation anxiety in future, right? Because a lot of times, when you bring home a puppy, they're so bonded with the rest of their litter mates that the moment they have left, they tend to cry a lot, right? And they kind of require attention, um, body heat, and all these kind of things. So if you suddenly just leave your dog outside and then suddenly you go out, your dog is going to start crying, your puppy's going to start crying and whining a lot, and that will kind of create separation anxiety in the long run. So the first when my puppy's at the age of 2 months, I want my puppy to be able to feel secure, right? And by feeling secure, yes, I spend a lot of time with it at night, morning. Well, I do the same thing as Keith. I put him in the crate, take him out, put him, create a schedule, because I have to know when they are starting to do their businesses, right? Like peeing and pooing and stuff like that. So once I've sort of figured out their timing, I put them at the same place to do their business so that they know that this is the place that they can go. This is what you call toilet training. Um, but of course, it also comes down to how much time you have, right? It's not going to be you have to be really consistent. And to be consistent, it's really understanding what your puppy's needs are.
You're muted, JP.
You're on mute. Mm.
Sorry. Another thing worth talking about, and I do hear this a bit as well. First time, second dog owner. So they've always had one dog, never had a problem, and then it's the first time they're bringing home a second dog, and all sorts of things go through their head. In fact, a friend of mine just imported a Vizsla, and she's got a bully at home. She's getting a second Vizsla. All sorts of questions in their head. Is my first dog going to bite my second dog? Are they going to chew each other off? Um, I so at one point I had four dogs in my house. And the biggest challenge was bringing in Yogi, my bully, because I brought him in at about 9 months, 6 to 9 months old. I forgot what it was exactly. And at that point, I had a couple of dogs in my house already. So I did something which worked for me, and I don't know if it works for everyone. But so what I did was I brought Panda out of the house, and we went to the park. Yogi was at the park already. We played at the park, ball, tug, whatever, run around, pee, sniff each other, and then we walked home together. So it was a very neutral footing coming home
Correct.
from. It wasn't like Yogi was coming into Panda's territory and then Panda had to defend the territory. It was, you guys were playing together, you had fun, and then you came home together. It's like you brought your friend home. What can be more fun than that? So I did that, but then even during the night, I kept them separated, but they could see each other and could smell each other, but they couldn't touch each other. not until a certain point where I felt like they were actually I could trust them.
Yep.
Yeah. So
So I've something similar here as well, right? So my dogs, let's take Baros and Dago for instance. Dago came at 5 months old. Of course, my dogs are pretty dominant, by nature. So till today, to be honest, they haven't had the chance to run and play together, right? Well, also because of our pandemic situation, I can't go out much, but they live in the same area where they can still smell and touch each other. When they can even dig each other if they wanted to. But this kind of situation for me is it's important to meet in a neutral environment, right? So, but I have also had a case when I had Kira, my female Mali, and I brought 2 month old Baros back. She had no problems because I personally felt that because um, Kira being a female, she had motherly instincts, right? So that it's a different situation. But if you have two males or two females, the best is to meet in a neutral ground. That would be a key take away, I think.
the other thing. I mean, if
I think
sorry, just a quick one. So the other thing I just want to add is that um I don't know. I wouldn't want to rush it. Like there isn't a point or worth rushing. If your dog's gonna be with you for 12, 15 years, right? What's a couple of months? Like just let them really get to know each other. Let them understand that each other, they're no threats. They're gonna eat together. There's plenty of food to go around. Um, and then take that introduction real slow. Many people try and put I got a new puppy. Then they start off too fast, too hard, and then all sorts
Yeah,
of
I actually want to know what our listeners have in terms of their experience. So if you're listening to this and you can comment below, it would be nice to know how you actually introduced your dogs and how you actually brought back your puppy. Yeah, so I mean that's the best way
Mm,
that we could actually understand each other.
so talking on this topic, right? You also got to know your first dog. If your first dog is very skittish and it's very territorial, don't like Jay said, don't force it. You just create problems. So I only have one dog, but my parents they have two Dachshunds. So when we introduced the two Dachshunds was for the first 3 weeks they were separated. They would never go to they never go to each other if you're not there. So they're always they were like there's a barrier. They can see each other.
mm,
We got the same bowls, two same bowls, so they won't get possessive over each other's dog bowls. Everything is like double the leashes with everything toys all the same toys two of it
mm,
so there's no better toy that's what I did when we had the introduction so and the introduction was very slow it was like 3 weeks they
mm.
were never had until we saw that there was no animosity between each other and then we said okay let's do it but it was also under constant supervision for like even after we did the introduction.
But the other thing is to say also is that dogs fight.
Yeah,
So I mean,
they
yeah, they have to sort out their ranking and they've got to sort out their hierarchy, and that's between them, right? So um, when all my four dogs are together, if Yogi, Bravo, Panda, Hilda are together, they will have a bit of a scuffle. They will growl. They will nip at each other. I don't think it's major. Sometimes I come home and there's blood on the floor, and this dog has bitten that dog. Um, yeah, I think it's just to recognize that they are animals. They've got their thing, and they don't want to kill each other. But yeah, just gotta be mindful and take your time and accept that dogs do fight.
the people fight with their best friends too.
Sorry.
People also fight amongst their
Yeah,
best
just
friends.
like humans fight, dogs fight. It's all normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's one topic that I would like to touch is socialization when you get a puppy.
Mm,
So what I did for my dog, I think James and Brandon see my dog. So for the first week before he got his vaccination, I carried my dog out. Um, Carried it out. Of course he didn't go to any parks or anything, but I carried it out, let it experience motorbikes. Because when he came from the breeder, he never experienced any of this. He's never seen a car. He has never seen a lorry. So I will carry my dog for like 5 minutes, stand beside the road, let it see motorbikes, let it see the buses, let it see the lorries. If a dog barks at it, I'll just hold it in front of the dog barking and say that and show that he has no problems with. There's nothing to be worried about if a dog is barking with you over the fence and all those things. So I think that's one thing that I did for my dog, which was a lot of socialization. Even when he was not able to go out, of course, after he got his third vaccination, that's where I introduced. Uh, I don't have grass in my area, but I will just bring it to a small patch of grass and introduce multiple surfaces for the dog to go step on and all those type of things. Yeah, and try to like understand your dog breed. If it's going to be a like Rottweilers, I think their joints only long like 2 years old or 1.5 years old. So no major exercise, no jumping off the sofa, no long walks. Understand that part. And that's why a lot of research needs to be done on the dog breed that you have. Like if your dog is prone to hips and elbow dysplasia, do like just do research. Like try not to over exercise your dog, especially a puppy. I think that's very important as well.
But I mean, coming to the topic of socialization, I've always find the word socialization misleading because we listen to it from a human standpoint. I actually prefer the term neutralization. So we just want the dog to be completely so it's what happens a lot, right? Like someone says, "Oh, I want to socialize my dog. Let's bring your dog and go and play with my dog." Then oftentimes the dog's gonna build this kind of classical conditioning, like when I see another dog, let's go crazy, let's go like go high and go crazy, right? And then at some age you don't want to let the dogs play with another dog, and then he or she is gonna be pulling on the end of the leash trying to get to the other dog because in his or her mind, hey, I always
It's
get
playtime.
yeah. So I like to think of it as neutralization. I show the dog everything and tell the dog that all these things don't mean nothing. Like, you see a bike, that's a bike. You see a delivery rider, that's a delivery rider. You see a baby on a pram, that's a baby on a pram. But you don't have to go and interact with it. To me, the neutralization is more important than the
So
actual
so
social.
for me, when I was socializing Koda was like okay, so taking into account that I want a dog that I'll be able to bring to a cafe and he sits beside me and all those type of things. I'm okay because at a cafe environment, sometimes there'll be kids running around, touching him and all those type of things. So for me, I wanted him to be very calm throughout all those situations. So there's a lot of exposure to like bring him to the park. And if a kid were to suddenly rush up to him, I didn't want him to like freak out. So when a kid rushed up to him, I just make sure that he's very calm. If the kids were to approach him in the wrong way and just grab his ear, so there was a lot of this. Like I exposed him to like if a kid were to grab his ear, just pull his ear, it means nothing to him. So that was a lot of touching because again,
Yeah. So
you,
I
you
I think I call this desensitization, right?
yeah,
So at that kind of age, I tend to do a lot of desensitization, especially at 2 months, just so that they've experienced what they've experienced in their life. So I bring up a lot of even children. I let children play with my puppies. I get them to touch the bowls, making sure it's safe. So the dog doesn't snap back at the humans eventually when it's older. So yeah, I mean to summarize this, I think it's important that once you have your puppy at home, it's important to socialize, desensitize, and of course to neutralize the whole entire situation. Um, because there's going to be a lot of times that you don't know when or what is going to happen. Your gates may suddenly open. Does your dog rush out to bite someone, or does it run out to take a piss and come back home, or does it even just stay at home? So these are a couple of things that I would do to make sure that my dog understands the rules that I've set out. I create black and white rules, which is, the black rules would be if my gate opens, you are not allowed to go out without a leash, right? So the white rule would obviously be the moment the gate is open, you have your leash on, we can go out. So this is something that I condition my dog to understand. This is what we call classical conditioning. And the whole point of this is to really create your rules from the very start to avoid issues down the line. If you don't correct anything and then suddenly you correct, the dog will be like, hey, what the heck? Why you let me do it last time and now I cannot do it? So, of course, as early as possible, create the right rules, implement them so that the dog will understand that, okay, yeah, I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Then you're clear. you're safe, so that would be something that you should understand when your dog is at home. um of course, your yearly vaccinations, your vaccinations, you have to think about, can you afford it? Now, a lot of people buy dogs. This is facts. They buy the dogs. After a couple months, it's sad, but they post it on Facebook and say, "Hey, I can't afford my dog anymore. Can someone adopt it?" Now, it's not fair. It's really not fair. Try to have some financial planning. It doesn't take millions to own a dog. It doesn't take hundreds of thousands, right? But of course, there will be a time, you have to consider that, yes, food, maybe 200-300 ringgit a month, toys, food, vet bills, right? You at least consider these before you start considering to get a puppy.
And also time. There's a lot of time involved. Just for with a dog. Walking the dog, bathing the dog, feeding your dog.
Yeah.
It it's a lot. It's like having a kid, but
Yep.
not as
In
expensive of having a kid.
preparation to have a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so
So
these are the couple of things that we can say as a podcast to mention. But
Oh, one more thing. Enjoy. Like enjoy your
yeah,
puppy. Be
enjoy
happy.
your dog. That's the
Don't
most
get
important thing.
stressed up. Don't get angry. Just
Don't get frustrated. Yeah, because they're the only ones who don't talk back. They listen to you. I mean, I guess the best way to say this particular thing is, have a good bond with your dog. Do something with your dog, like either a sport, um, or walking or whatever. I think these particular training and exercises will create a healthier lifestyle, right? You could be more healthy. Your dog will enjoy it. I think this is something. So we were even thinking of doing an event called Canicross, right? What Canicross essentially is basically putting your dog on a harness, tying it to your waist, and you run, right? It's a marathon. It's a jogging sort of thing. But these kind of competitions will you'll have a happier dog, a healthier dog, because the whole objective of the dog is to run. Of course, depending on what breed you have, you're not going to put a pug and a bulldog to run 10 kilometers, right? So consider doing something with your dog. um
do anything
yeah,
with
I
your
mean,
dog.
that's pretty much what we can say here. Is there anything else that we would like to add?
hello.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. No, my internet call.
Yeah, for me, I think just go out to do whatever you want to do with your dog. If it's party tricks, teach your dog party tricks. If it's just go and train. You don't have to be involved in the sport, but I think the most important is just to train. Go out and train your dog.
Yep, 100%. Well, that concludes our podcast today.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
Well, once again, thank you so much for tuning in into What's Up Dog podcast. If you have not, please do subscribe. Of course, follow us on Instagram, What's Up Dog underscore podcast. Once again, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Next time.
Ciao.